Okay guys, so today on the Action Diary, it is the 3rd of January and we are going to be tackling this. This is my girlfriend's VW Polo and the engine is dead, so the plan is to swap the engine out. Pretty ambitious, obviously. Here's the deal. Basically, she's got another car anyway. She was going to scrap it, so if I completely F it up, we haven't really lost anything and I get an opportunity to learn. The absolute worst case scenario, if we can't do it, then we scrap the car anyway, but I've learned a load about putting engines in. So I've done a bit of research, I've bought a load of stuff. Not everything's come yet, but we'll update in as we go along. But I do have some bits and pieces already. So we've got a load of rags, brake cleaner, degreaser, service items, oil, coolant, new oil filter, new air filter, clutch main seal, new clutch, new flywheel. So without further ado, we're going to crack on. We're going to get the car in the garage. The first thing we're going to do, however, is we're going to give the interior a good old clean because it's... yeah. Right, so I've spent about half an hour on this car and obviously it's nowhere near perfect or nowhere near clean really, but already it just feels like a little bit of a nicer place to be, which is just what I want when I'm working on the car. It's dirty, obviously, but it's tidy and it's sort of not gross. Right, chocks are in, so we're going to have a little look for the jacking points. Not that this is, I wouldn't say an instructional video, but anyone that wants to know. You've got these little notches here. It looks like it's just wet up in the sun, but there is actually, let me get that right, let me just see, there's like a physical indentation there. And then there's a pinch weld behind it. Let me get the camera right, so there's a pinch weld here. That's where your jack's going to go in. With the car up in the air, the first job is to disconnect the battery. Then I start clearing out all the dead leaves and giving everything a quick clean. It's not about making it showroom ready, it's just about making it easier to work on. Dirt and corrosion can increase the chance of rounding bolts, plus battling grease and dirt just makes a hard job even harder. A clean workspace makes the whole job feel a lot more manageable. Once this is done, I remove the battery tray to give me more space to work as well as access to the components below. One thing I'm going to be doing to really help me, I'm going to put everything in bags, as in all the bolts that come out, everything goes in a bag, and then everything gets labelled. So I'm going to know when I've got a shit ton of bolts lying around that I'm going to know my wheel bolts from my engine mount bolts, from my gearbox bolts, from my clutch brake, etc. engine liners off, engine tray off. Okay guys, day 2, Sunday the 4th of January, and it's -4. Massive ball ache trying to get this headlight out. I don't know where I'm going to put all this stuff because I'm running out of space already. Bumper off. Everything that I've seen says that you take the sides off, unclip here, unclip here, and it just comes off, and I'm like, cool. Condenser radiator behind it, radiator sort of come out. I've got one more bolt to take out, then I should be able to lift the radiator out. I've got the slam panel and bumper bar off, which is good. Well, there's a bit of a feeling of achievement there. I mean, loads to do still, shit loads to do still. But what I have got is access to the engine. So, day 4, 6th of January 2026. Yesterday was really productive. I hadn't heard from the guy selling me the engine, and I messaged him and he basically confirmed that it would be arriving today, which is awesome. Right now we're in the car because we're off to book the engine crane. Other awesome news, the quick jacks arrived this morning, so I'm going to be setting those up. I don't want to do nothing on the car because I want to, obviously I've got
maybe another week, maybe 2 before the Camaro comes back. I really want to get to a place where either I've confirmed that the car can't be done and get rid of it, or I've hopefully finish it, get it running and get it out of the garage in the next week to 2 weeks. Like those silly TV shows where they're like, we have to get it done by this date because, and it's some bullshit reason. But I do actually have a somewhat hard out because we're in the depths of winter and I really don't want the Camaro sitting outside. So yeah, there's something of a time limit on this. Good news, even better news than the good news I had before. We have picked up the crane, so I don't have to get it delivered, which would have been an extra 80 quid. And I've also got a sack barrow so I can get the car into the garage.
I really just need to remember where the way to belt goes. And that's just... got the quick jacks sorted, they're up and running. Got the tensioner off, which was a massive pain in the backside. Got the alternator off, which was a massive pain in the backside. So I just need to keep track of everything. It's half the battle. Bought chain today, so 2 sections of chain, a metre each, for lifting the engine. They're good for 400 kilos. Each one of these is good for 800 kilos, and I've got 4 of them. 2 for the engine, 2 for the hoist. So all that I'm going to do now is I'm going to run over the engine bay with some degreaser just on those hoses, just give them a little clean, just so I can tag everything, take loads of pictures, and then hopefully I'll have a good map that I can translate to the new engine. Didn't get loads done today, but got important stuff done today, and I'm actually not going at 100 miles an hour now. I'm just going through it methodically, slowly. I think going from one side of the engine bay to the other, unplugging stuff. So I'm going to start labelling some bits now. I've got some woodworking stuff out, and the reason being is that I'm going to be pulling from my RTS firewall building skills, and basically I'm going to make a little frame to hold up the coolant condenser so that it doesn't have to be suspended by cable ties or have someone hold it or balanced on something. So I've got a couple of bits of wood from B&Q, and I had these I threw together ages ago. I was toying with the idea of doing a sort of firewall light version. I was going to call it the Firewall Recon. Anyway, I sort of ended up not going down that road, but I still had these because I thought, well, they might be useful for something, and it turns out they're going to be. So what I'm going to do, I've measured this to roughly the height of the bottom of the condenser. I'm going to take them off here, and then I'm going to build a little frame just to hold that, so I can just sort of move it around and position it so we can get the engine out. That's the plan. So the good thing is, I can pivot these legs, and I should still be able to get the crane in. Now it feels like we can make some progress. Okay, so we are going to get a little bit of work done today. So we're going to get this compressor off, and we're going to take these hoses off because they are the ones I need to put on the new engine. Salvaging a coolant hose. Right, jumping ahead massively, but we've got loads done. I've got an extra pair of hands today. My brother's come down to help me, and we have done actually quite a lot. I'm just going to flip the camera. So we've taken the inlet manifold off to get us access to the wiring loom. We've taken the loom off and put it on the new engine, and that's more or less ready to go. We've just got a couple of ancillaries to go on, but now we're focusing on getting the engine free. So we've got basically everything off, and we've just got to do the exhaust, and then we've got to start attacking this, so we've got the gearbox on the right hand side here, and then we've got to take a load of bolts off, free that up. That sounds like not an awful lot to do, but it's probably going to still take a few hours, so we probably won't get it all done today, but we're making good time. So it's game time. We are getting close now to lifting this engine out. We've taken all the bell housing bolts from the back and the bottom, and then we've got 2 left at the top. 1, 2. That will be the bell housing essentially free, and then we've got to undo the mounts, and we've just got a hose at the back still to take off, but we're going to try and do that when we've got a little bit more access with the engine moved. Getting very close to the moment of truth now. The gearbox is technically separate from the engine, and we're just taking this last mount off. Things are starting to move around. Right, I'm whispering because it's really early. It's about -2 outside. It's really cold. Everything's frosting over outside. Today was a big day, but we just smashed through loads of stuff. We had to use the original loom from the car, so we took the loom off to sort of map it onto the new one, which was a bit of a pig and took sort of half a day. So that was. But we cracked on, and we're basically ready to separate the engine from the gearbox. Gearbox is staying in, and we're hoping that we don't have to start taking the gearbox mounts off and stuff like that. Hopefully it will, we'll be able to get this free. The clutch sits in here. I'm going to spin the camera. So starter motor goes in here. The clutch sits about here. We're just hoping we can move the engine over to the left enough so that it will clear the clutch. We'll see. I'm fairly confident we should get the new engine at least seated before the end of the day. It just depends on a few factors like getting those bolts off, whether or not we can separate this without with keeping the gearbox in situ, or whether we have to start taking these gearbox mounts off. Removing the old engine turned out to be one of the most involved parts of the whole job, and honestly we were so deep into it that I didn't capture as much footage as I wanted to. So here's a brief rundown of what actually happened. The engine and gearbox are packed extremely tightly in this Polo, with the AC hardlines limiting vertical movement and the crank pulley right up against the chassis rail. We couldn't lift the engine cleanly or pull it sideways to separate it from the gearbox. So we need to be really cautious of this.
Yeah. And also the exhaust at the back is propped up, isn't it?
So mounts off, gearbox is free.
We think we've got all hoses and electrical connections free.
And it does move. Just go super slow for me.
Yeah.
I'll manage this. Right, we've got AC hoses here.
Do we need to push it this way first? Do we need to
Yeah.
pry bar it a little bit? If we pry bar this gap.
Yep. A little bit out and then a little bit up.
So if we go up, we might pinch it.
Like, do we come down first a little bit? Try and nudge it out. That sounded like... Does that help?
Yeah, this is just touching a little bit, but I can't see what's happening over there.
Yeah, you're good at the moment. We've only got about 5 mil though, really.
This might ping off this.
That was the one. Without an engine leveller, we ended up having to rely on a mix of brute force and careful manipulation to get the engine free. Even then, space was so limited that the only way to get enough clearance was to remove the clutch while the engine was still partially inside the bell housing. We did that by undoing one clutch bolt at a time, rotating the engine via the crank pulley to access each bolt in turn and repeating until the clutch came off. Luckily, because this engine wasn't being reused, we had a bit of margin for less than perfect handling on the engine side. Once the clutch was off, we finally had the clearance we needed to lift the engine out. Unfortunately, it took several hours and ran late into Sunday, and with my brother needing to head home, that's where we had to stop for the day. Sadly, we didn't get as much done as I'd hoped, but getting the engine off felt like a huge milestone and a solid end to the day.